Good evening. Well, the sun has slowly made its way down once again, and we can finally get comfortable and have a chat. My name is Eddie Booz, and this is Exit the Matrix. Throughout my life, I have traversed my share of rabbit holes, and like many of you out there, I have seen and experienced some things that I simply cannot explain. That being said, I invite you all to consider that this world may not be exactly what we've been told it is, and that maybe, just maybe, we haven't even scratched the surface of the absolute truths that lie before us. Well, let's get into today's episode. I have a wonderful guest, somebody that I've been wanting to have on the show for quite a while now. Miss Mallory Dickinson, one of the producers over here at Pack Lens. She's going to be starting a true crime show in the near future here, and we wanted to kind of go into one of the cases and kind of talk about one of the things that she's going to be talking about on her show. So we kind of wanted to do a little crossover here. I'm not even sure if we have do we have a title for your show yet or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. We're still working on it.
Soon enough. We'll do the artwork and all that stuff soon. But today, I did want to get into the JonBenét Ramsey case.
I love it.
I know that's something that you've been, that was a case that you were very interested in. You had a lot of interest in. We kind of talked about it, kind of leading up to this. And before we get into the case, though, I did want to say we do have a sponsor for today's episode, and I'd like to throw a quick shout out to today's sponsor. So let me just do that real quick.
Yeah.
So Exit the Matrix listeners, you got family coming into town this summer, or maybe you're just looking for a fun, unforgettable way to explore the coast. I've got the perfect experience for you. Newport Beach Electric Bike Tours and Barcelona Bikes, right in Costa Mesa, Newport Beach. This isn't just any bike ride. You can rent a super smooth electric bike for the day, or hop on one of their famous locals guided tours led by Nick, Dennis, James, and their squad, a crew that really knows Newport inside and out. We're talking secret spots, coastal history, local legends, and views that'll blow your mind, even if you've lived here before, even if you've lived here forever. And hey, Father's Day is coming up, so forget the tie, give Dad an adventure. A guided tour or e-bike rental makes an awesome, memorable gift. Got a bike that needs some love? Swing by and get it tuned up while you're there. Whether you're hosting visitors, want a day date idea, or just feel like being a tourist in your own backyard, Barcelona Bicycles is the move. Stop in and say hi to the crew and get rolling. Tell them Exit the Matrix sent you guys. So it's good to have Barcelona Bikes as our sponsor today. It's kind of awesome.
Super fun.
So yeah, go down there, take your family down to the beach this summer and down at Newport, and tell them Exit the Matrix sent you guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, what a great place to do bike rides too. I mean, probably one of the most beautiful coastal communities.
On the beach in Newport, I know exactly. Yeah. Super beautiful. So let's get into today's actual episode here, and talk about some of the facts surrounding this case. So kind of just want to introduce kind of what happened, kind of just to start things off, So on the morning after Christmas, 1996, a 6-year-old beauty queen was found murdered in her own basement. What followed was one of the most sensational and bizarre investigations in American criminal history. And nearly 30 years later, it's still unsolved.
Yep.
Now, this wasn't just a tragic story. This was a media circus, a forensic mess, and some would argue a carefully constructed cover-up. We're not just asking who killed JonBenét Ramsey, we're asking who's keeping it buried. Okay?
That's a great question.
Right. I mean, well, some would say that it has been solved.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, there some facts, throughout this case that I believe that some people just kind of already have their minds made up.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of go over some of that right now. Let's start off with the timeline. From the Christmas night to the cold case.
Yep.
So December 25th, 1996, Christmas Day, JonBenét and family attend a party. That evening, the Ramseys return home to 755 15th Street in Boulder, Colorado. Last seen alive by her parents before putting her to bed. Okay? December 26th, 1996, 5:30 a.m. Patsy Ramsey calls 911. hysterical, claiming her daughter is missing. A bizarre 2.5-page ransom note is found on the stairs demanding $118,000. So a 2.5-page ransom note found on the stairs demanding $118,000, okay? And this is at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, now 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., friends arrive to support the Ramseys, contaminating the scene. Police don't seal the house or thoroughly search it, and there was no forced entry, but except for the odd ransom note with the particular phrasing that they found.
Right.
At 1 p.m., the discovery. John Ramsey finds JonBenét's body in the basement wine cellar. She's covered with her favorite blanket and has duct tape on her mouth. Her wrists are bound. The cause of death, strangulation, and skull fracture. Now, from the moment that note was discovered, this case took on an aura of theatrical horror. The $118,000 demand, that was almost exactly JonBenét's bonus that year. That's his...
John Ramsey's.
JonBenét's, yes.
John
Ramsey's bonus. Excuse me. Sorry. My apologies. That's it.
The dad.
Yes, the father.
I was like, dang, look at this beauty queen, $118,000 Christmas.
Yeah, beauty queens don't get paid that much for winning beauty queen competitions. You're right. So no, John Ramsey's bonus this year, that year, it's unbelievable coincidence.
Right. A very random number. I think if you could say like, oh, 50,000 or 75,000.
Right.
You know, you could call that luck.
It was a nice round number. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right.
118.
To hit it on the head, you know, to hit the nail on the head there, that's more than coincidence.
Correct.
I would say. So much of this case isn't about what happened. It's about what didn't happen.
Yes.
You know, the crime scene was compromised. There was dozens of people allowed inside. No forensic protocol was followed. And the body was moved by John Ramsey against police instruction. Yep. Behavioral profile. Ransom note was written inside the home on Patsy's notepad. Mm-hmm. So meaning that they didn't, whoever wrote the note didn't write it outside and bring it in and leave it. And they just, whoever wrote the note, wrote it from inside the house.
You also have to be comfortable enough to be in a house to write a 2.5-page.
Think about that for a second.
How long that would take you to write a 2.5-page ransom note. Most of the time, if you're going to be kidnapping or potentially murdering someone, you don't want to be at the scene for that long.
You're absolutely right. And to add to that, a 2.5-page note that says, and that kind of indicates that there was a thought, that there was thought being put into what was written.
Correct.
Meaning there was time to think.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Or like a comfortability in the situation or in the environment.
In an environment that you're in. Exactly. You're not afraid that somebody's going to catch you in the next hour. Probably. How long does it take you to write a 2.5-page letter?
I mean, me personally, probably a little bit.
A long time.
Pre-ChatGPT, right?
I mean,
probably
exactly.
a little bit.
Right.
Probably a little bit.
So, I mean, you know, there's certain aspects to this, especially just the note.
Yes.
That tell you that there was comfort and time in writing it. Now, I'm not saying necessarily comfort as far as like the emotional aspect. What I mean by that is the time that was spent. Environmental comfort enough to write a 2.5-page letter, to know that you have the time to do that.
I don't know if you have read the ransom letter. I've read the ransom letter. And what was really interesting to me was in the beginning of it, it starts off as Mr. and Mr. Ramsey. And then by the end of it, they're almost calling them like nicknames, referring to them by first name, kind of like inside joke inside, which I just thought was very interesting.
Like,
as well.
Very like the way you speak to your husband, or the way that you
someone
you know, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So I think they started off if I remember correctly, it started off very formal. You know, Mr. and Mr. Ramsey, we have your daughter, and by the end of it, they're like, oh, Patsy and her Southern ways, and John, and it's kind of like, huh.
Interesting.
So you either know the family,
right, know
enough about them to be able to write these things down, right?
Right, or you're, part of the family.
Correct.
So, right. That's strange, you know? So again, the ransom note was written inside the home on Patsy's notepad. Experts say it's too long for a real ransom note. And the language mimics movies like Dirty Harry and Speed.
Right.
Okay, so In 1999, a grand jury voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey for child abuse, resulting in JonBenét's death. But the Boulder DA declined to prosecute.
Was that Lou Smith, I believe, at the time, or not? Or not Alex Hunter?
I don't know.
Okay. One was a detective and one was the DA. I'm not sure which one.
The grand jury did want to bring charges, but the DA didn't.
Right.
That's not just legal discretion. That's stonewalling.
Yes.
Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But why was that allowed? Did John? Now, my question here is that did John and Patsy have some sort of connection with this DA? You know?
Yeah. Not that I know of.
What's going on with that? You know, I mean, and you, so you know quite a bit about this. So you've done quite a bit of research about this and like looked into this case quite a bit.
I've when I was 11 when this happened.
Right. Yeah, we were young.
So it was like we were relatively close in age to this happening.
Yep.
And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, like this is just absolutely devastating.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
And at that time, it was like with the National Enquirer and everybody, like all these the trash tabloids were everywhere.
Yes.
And I just remember every time I would go to the grocery store with my mom or anytime I was in a shop, it was always something about JonBenét on the cover. And I dove into all of it. I read the books that the parents wrote. I wrote the book that Alex Hunter wrote. I've kind of gone both sides of it to try to get both sides of the story. And it's interesting how much of an impact these books make, right? Because like in one breath you're like, oh my God, it has to be the parents. Like there's no way. For the longest time I was like, there's no way it's not the parents. And then you start reading these other facts and you're like, wait, maybe it wasn't the parents. But in a in a court of law, that's all you need is just enough to not have you be 100% sure.
Yeah,
that's all they need, right?
Doubt.
Just a smidgen of a reasonable doubt. That's all you need. So I don't know. They had a new documentary that came out, and I was like, oh my God, there's no way it's the parents.
Interesting.
After 25 years of being like,
sure,
it is the parents. Like there is no way it wasn't the parents.
Right.
And then
you see this
new evidence comes out, and you're like, huh?
Interesting.
Maybe I was wrong.
Well, there's a couple of popular theories here.
Yes.
There's an intruder theory.
Yes.
The intruder theory is a stranger broke in, hid in the house, and killed her. The support for that is an unknown footprint in the basement.
Yes.
And open basement window as well. Mm-hmm. So the basement window was open, and some sort of unknown footprint they found inside the basement. But there was no evidence of forced entry and no foreign DNA match to date.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? So
I think that's their biggest struggle is that they've never been able to match DNA.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what they're banking on is hopefully that at some point they're going to be able to match the DNA to something. But unfortunately, the longer the case goes, people are dying. People's recollection of what happened that day is a little bit more screwed. Right. It's harder and harder to get these.
Now, have we found DNA that we haven't been able to match to any? Have we found? Have the authorities found?
They have found DNA that they have not tested.
That they've not tested.
That they have not tested.
You're kidding.
No, and that's what her dad is fighting for right now is to get this DNA tested. Why is this DNA
not getting tested?
Wow. And is it because the people who are like I used to be so sure that it's the parents, do they not want to show everything that they did wrong? Do they not want to show all the missteps in the case?
Interesting. So
do they what? How easy?
So what you're saying is that there is a possibility that there were so many mess ups during the investigation that they don't want to shine a light on how bad they messed up during this investigation.
That's kind of how I feel.
So they're just kind of stonewalling the parents and not allowing any more evidence to be uncovered. They're saying, look, we've done the investigation. We're not going to move past any of this anymore. We're not doing any of this. And then that's pretty much like, so essentially that's pretty much the reasoning behind they're not really moving forward with any kind of DNA testing or anything like that. That's very strange, and that's a very interesting...
So the parents have been exonerated at this point.
Oh, they have?
They have been exonerated at this point. I believe it was after the mom passed away. So the mom passed away, I think it was either like breast or some type of reproductive cancer that she had. I want to say like ovarian or uterine cancer. They were exonerated after she passed away. So I felt like that was such a bummer because, I mean, they had the spotlight on them for so long and they were under the microscope for so long. And I mean, as a parent, if you really didn't do it, imagine being like the number one suspect of murdering your own child, where they're not looking at any other suspects. They're like I'm not saying they threw evidence in the trash, but just dismissing so many things because they were so sure.
Yeah, and then 30 years of that.
And then 30 years of that, and then he passed away, and then you finally get exonerated. I mean, just...
That's insane.
It's insane. But I think it goes both ways. I think either someone's covering up for the family or someone's covering up because they dropped the ball on so many parts of it.
Now, something that just comes into my mind, and I don't know a lot about the case.
Yeah.
I just barely skimmed some of this as I was researching this for this case particularly.
Yeah.
I remember it like you do. I remember it like, I was about 14 or 15 when this happened.
Yeah.
And I remember it just being... everywhere. This was what everybody was talking about. It was the fucking Diddy situation of the day. You know what I mean? It was the fucking main thing, This
beautiful little girl who got put in not adult situations, but, was dressed a little bit more provocatively. Was forced to kind of almost act like an adult, wear makeup, do the song and dance, put herself on stage.
Right. Yeah. It almost feels to me, and it's just a question that it raises with me, it feels to me like, okay, so with just elements with like the DA refusing to move forward on some things,
right?
With just kind of the way that it, certain things are ignored. My mind goes, if the parents didn't do it, who did, and why is that entity being kind of shadow protected?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the question that lies in my mind. Like, if the parents didn't do it, somebody did. This little girl did die. This little girl was murdered.
Right.
And if the parents didn't do it, and the people that... Like, let's say the parents were... It was... The idea was to pin it on the parents had they not done it, right?
Right.
And let's say that didn't work. 30 years comes and goes, and all of a sudden, hey, they're exonerated now. Well, that's the case. You got to open your eyes and go, well, if they didn't do it, who did? And if you're unwilling to move forward with investigation at that point, that says something to me that whoever did do it might be in a higher place that... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, maybe
for me, that's where I think
it feels like it feels like a problem of like a more elite status,
right?
You know what I mean? Of like people in higher places that are doing nefarious things.
Yeah, I mean, there was one theory, I believe, that Santa Claus, they went to a party earlier that day and she saw Santa Claus, and Santa Claus made a comment of, "Oh, I'll see you later." So everybody kind of ran with that. Oh my God, Santa Claus said.
Well, it's Santa. And he's going to be visiting.
It was like an older man. He was a neighbor. They knew him. And it's like, okay, but if you're playing the role of Santa, like...
You're going to say, I'll see you later tonight. Ho, ho, ho.
Right.
Like, I'm coming down the chimney.
Right.
Like, I understand.
But they took that one comment and just...
Did they investigate the Santa?
Yes.
You're kidding.
Full investigation.
I mean,
Santa.
I get why. I mean, obviously, you need to like make sure you cover all your bases.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
And it was like this nice old man who I believe was like lived in their neighborhood and was like the community Santa. And they did. His name was Bill something.
You really do remember a lot about this case.
I was obsessed with this case because I was like, again, when I was first into this, I really did believe it was the parents, but how, if it's not the parents, and they really don't think it's the parents, how are there not people sitting on the rooftop screaming, there is a murderer, protect your children, curfew? Like, why was there not like this epic alert for Boulder to be like, lock your fucking doors?
On high alert. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like screaming from the rooftop. Watch your kids.
Hey, a little girl was murdered.
Right.
We have to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Protect your children.
Right.
So there was none of that.
None of that.
No kidding.
I think everybody just automatically went for the parents. And that's why I think they almost... I don't know why they...
Now, let me ask you another question. Yeah. Was there any other murders of any children in that time, in that area?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
I do want to say there might have been a sexual predator who had just been released. So... or some type of... Pardon?
Nothing.
Wood chippers? What you said? Yes. Who ended up... He admitted to it years and years later. And then when they did all the testing and did this and that, they're like, you're just batshit crazy. You have no idea what you're talking about. He kind of just wanted to make himself relevant. But yeah, that was the person who had admitted.
Interesting.
That he was like, no, I did it. It was me. I was obsessed with her. I loved her.
Oh, okay. I do remember vaguely hearing that.
Yeah.
But then I do remember that being like dismissed like very quickly.
Yeah. No DNA matched. He didn't know enough of the information.
Details
they started asking him questions and he didn't know enough for it.
Okay. So
we'll rewind.
There's a couple other theories here.
Yeah.
The Burke Ramsey theory.
Yes.
Okay. The brother, age 9, claims that Burke lashed out over food or jealousy. Dr. Phil interview shows unusual behavior decades later.
Yes.
And a civil suit settled between CBS and Burke. There was a civil suit settled between CBS and Burke for defamation.
Yes.
I actually didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the civil suit between CBS and Burke?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it kind of, once people started to shift, I think people wanted answers. There was nothing happening with the parents. I think people shifted to the brother because everybody just had to assume it was someone in the house.
Right.
There was very odd things placed at the crime scene. Her body was positioned a little weird. I believe she had like a smiley face or a heart or something. Right.
John moved the body, so how are they going to know how she was placed anyway?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
And I think she had like a heart or something drawn on her wrist. Like there was some things that showed like care during
the
whole process.
Interesting.
But with the brother, I remember the one thing that really stuck out in my mind was they said he walked downstairs. The whole living room was like full of police and investigators. And he didn't even ask questions. They were like, oh, you just need to go to your friend's house or the neighbor's house real quick. And people said he was like very quiet.
Stoic
didn't really,
and
just didn't have a response. And just kind of, I mean, if I walk downstairs.
Almost as if he,
are you in shock? And you're like, what the hell is going on?
Well,
was he briefed upstairs? Hey, your sister's missing.
Well,
you're going to go downstairs. Or
correct. Well, what if,
or do you know?
That leads me to believe, and let's say, even if he didn't do it,
right.
like, let's say he was present during the events throughout the evening.
Right.
Exactly. And you're right. It was explained, hey, blah, 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 or whatever. But like for him to have no reaction at 9 years old, hey, Mom, what is going, what?
Oh, hi, Mr. Policeman.
Yeah, like,
hey,
what's going on? Like,
on?
what in the world, you know what I mean? Like, where's my sister? Like,
right.
Well, none of that?
None of
just
that.
came downstairs, go to your friends, okay, see ya.
Yep. I remember that was like one of the biggest things in the report is that he had just walked downstairs and didn't have a response.
What?
Didn't have a response.
That is so weird.
And
by the way, guys, so I just want you guys to throw your thoughts down in the comments down here about
if I've remembered anything incorrectly, like please.
For sure. Well, here's the thing. I want you guys to throw your thoughts down in the comments here about Mallory's true crime show because she is killing it.
Oh, thank you.
I cannot wait. No, I seriously can't wait for you to start your true crime podcast.
Yeah,
because
it's gonna be great.
You're literally leading me through this case.
Yeah,
like you're legitimately like walking me through some of the most intricate details that I couldn't really dive into.
Yeah.
So I'm loving this, by the way.
Thank you.
So this is definitely like I'm really excited for you to start.
You're buying
your
what
podcast.
I'm selling.
Totally. I can't
you.
wait for you to start yours. And yeah, like I would even love to like do some crossover episodes as well. But please, let's continue here. I didn't mean to derail you from that thought, but I wanted you guys to throw your thoughts down in the comment section about the title for her podcast.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
So if you guys have any
ideas
for the title for her podcast, throw it down there for a true crime podcast hosted by Mallory. But yeah, so let's go back to the brother. Let's finish up with the brother.
Okay.
Very strange behavior coming from bed.
Right.
You know what I mean? To like wake up to a house full of cops and just be like, okay, like if I was 9 and I can't, got up from my bed and there was a house full of cops, I would absolutely be freaking out, asking my mom what the fuck happened.
Right.
Where's my sisters? Where's David and Brooke? Like, what's going on? Like, why aren't they coming with me to the neighbor's house?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
oh, are they already there?
Yeah, like nothing?
Nothing. I heard he was
completely stoic, ready to go to do whatever they needed done.
Yep.
What? That is so weird.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And their rooms were very close to each other. So I know there was a few theories about whether it happened in her room and then they brought her downstairs.
Well, she had a fractured skull and was strangled. I don't think a 9-year-old is going to be able to do that to a 6-year-old without anybody hearing.
Right.
That 6-year-old is going to be able to scream at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's way too much
So the brother's room, I believe, was either next door, like across the hall, very close to her bedroom. The parents' bedroom was actually on another floor. Mm-hmm. So I could maybe get by that the parents didn't hear, but I don't know if I can fully get on board that nobody heard. I mean, it was a fairly large house.
Right.
But yeah, just very you think somebody would hear something.
Especially, like I said, especially if it's a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Right.
However, if it's a 35-year-old and a 6-year-old and they can cover that 6-year-old's mouth, or they've done something to that 6-year-old to make sure that they can't wake up there's so many different things that a 9-year-old's not going to be able to do that kind of a thing.
No, and
you know
then you go back
especially
to
within the amount of time that it would take for them to do it. It's just,
and
that's
for him
just
to
my
like bring
opinion.
her all the way downstairs. And I think part of it is, did he not respond, and was he so stoic? Because you're like in shock. Like, do your parents go upstairs and did they tell him, hey, your sister is missing. There are cops downstairs. You are going to be going to a friend's house until we get this figured out. So is him being stoic, him in fucking shock?
Was he questioned?
He was.
Like immediately?
He did go to his friend's house, but he was questioned, I believe, I believe it was within a couple days. I don't believe he was questioned that day.
Anything indicate from the brother's interview that there was any
no, he has stood by his parents the whole entire time. He's never deviated from that.
Okay. Well, we have the Patsy Ramsey theory.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I was on board with.
Okay. So
Patsy did it, and her husband knew about it. Okay. Not my case anymore, but that was what you thought for a long time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So the reasoning behind that, one of the main reasons behind that theory was that the ransom note was written and it matched her handwriting.
I believe parts matched.
Interesting. So it went in and out of different types of handwriting?
It was, certain letters were close, but I believe when they did a true handwriting analysis, they said it was not a match. But you can look and there are very similar characteristics. So is it someone who just happens to write like her? Right. Is it someone if you're like a real fucking creeper, is it someone who studied her handwriting? Right. Is it someone who knew how she wrote? Someone who knew the
family member, who's very familiar. I'll tell you right now, like when I was younger, like I was able to, because I was a badass little kid. I was not.
I could forge my parents' signature like the best of them.
Totally, dude. Right? Not only the signature, the handwriting.
Oh, that's good.
The handwriting too.
I was just the signature.
The handwriting too. And you know what? It would match to a degree.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, enough.
Where
the teacher's not going to be like
passable.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Which is strange because let me ask you this: if you're writing it if you're not Patsy,
right,
and you're writing it in an attempt to look like Patsy, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Who is doing that? Who benefits from that?
Who knows you well enough?
Yeah, who knows her well enough to do that, and who's hates her enough to want her to take the fall for that?
Right. But I do remember there were, I think it was like I could totally be wrong. So I want to say it was the A's and the U's that had a certain type of like gap on them that they said, wow, this is really close. But then when you looked at the way I believe like the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, it was like very different. So they were never able to say it was a 100% match, but it was close.
Okay.
So again, that's why this case is, because you go either way with it, right?
Right. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
So strange.
It's so crazy.
So there is a theory, though. There is a theory behind why Patsy Ramsey had her thing. There was a theory that she struck JonBenét during a rage over bedwetting.
Yes.
And then staged the crime. Now, what do you think about this? Just like, give me your basic thoughts about that particular thing.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, right, beauty pageant, the mom was a beauty pageant queen.
Yeah. Mom was a past.
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't know if she was Miss Colorado, but she was very, very heavily involved in the pageant world.
Okay.
So imagine, I personally think people in the pageant world tend to be perfectionists. They might be a little type A. They might be, maybe not handling bedwetting in the best case, right? And she was an older girl that shouldn't have been wetting the bed at this point. So I mean, yeah, you wake up, you get mad. I mean, maybe she grabbed the sheets, maybe she did something and
yanked her off and hit her
head, and you go into a moment of panic.
Fuck, yeah, maybe you went, skull. Maybe that was.
I mean, maybe you grab a flashlight.
Like,
right.
What the hell?
Is that to cover up? But they're going to do an autopsy anyway.
What the? Yeah, that's so strange. There's so many different like variables or like whys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't actually have that much more time today. We're going to
do a couple parts.
Yeah,
of this.
So this is going to be a multi-parter. We're gonna end today's episode with the theories, with the popular theories of who killed JonBenét. So we got one more popular theory, and we might explore a couple more in the next episode. Yeah. But this one right here, so we're gonna move past Patsy right now because again, since then she's kind of off your radar as a potential.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on to the last one in the list for me. Now, as what I said earlier, this is a cover-up by elites / government officials, okay? Some suggest that the Ramseys' connections, particularly John's ties to Lockheed Martin and elite circles, led to a deliberate derailment of the investigation. Now we're talking about exactly what we were talking about earlier, how there was malicious mishandling of evidence or literal ignoring of evidence altogether. You know what I'm saying? So we're ignoring that kind of, the DNA. We're not even testing.
Not even testing the DNA.
Yeah, things along those lines. Like that like says to me there is something wrong here,
Yeah.
And even rumors of PDF rings, if you guys know what I'm talking about. FBI obstruction and secret societies tied to the child pageant circuit as well. So that's the theory like behind that one, is that John was tied to some elite circles through Lockheed Martin and through some of his connections.
Yeah.
And again, there were rumors of other things, secret societies tied to the pageant itself, tied to the circuit.
Yeah.
Those are those are the far-reaching theories that you really can't.
You can't really prove them, but you can't really disprove them either. But I mean,
and that's really where like I feel like the conspiracy aspect comes in on play here. You know what I mean? But really, you think about it, there's so much here that there has to be some sort of conspiratorial aspect, even even if the elites and the government have nothing to do with this.
Right.
There's got to be some sort. This couldn't be just one. In my opinion, I don't believe this is just one person that knew about this and somehow manipulated everything to have the ball be dropped on investigations, to have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like John moved the body, like the ransom not be written in Patsy's handwriting. Like all of this is too strange to have one person and again, orchestrated.
The biggest kicker to me is the fucking amount in the ransom note. Like that is so
$118,000,
just
right?
So wild to me. And the other thing is, if you are moving a body, I mean, I would imagine, I'm not a parent, but I would think as a parent, you walk downstairs. This was also, I don't know if you know, this was a very interesting point, was they found her, so she was in the basement. They had a wine cellar, and then there was like a closet or something behind the wine cellar, and that's where she was.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So
yeah,
like
she was like in a hidden
room. In a room.
She was like a hidden room down there. It wasn't just like she was just down there.
Right.
That's why it took them a long time to find her.
Right. And it was also, I believe they had him search the house, but I want to say it was the first place he checked in the basement.
Interesting.
So how many people even knew that room was there? So maybe that's just your go through, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to go to the first door on the left, open, okay. But it was very interesting to me. God, like that's the first room you go into. The ransom amount is weird. She had food in her stomach when they said she hadn't eaten before she had gone to bed. The brother's not saying anything. You're allowing the dad to move the body. You're not like trying to contain a crime scene at all.
No,
like, at all.
You know what? Let's just for a second, because we're about out of time today, but for a second, let's go back to the amount again.
Yes.
Let's go back to that $118,000. First of all, number one, that's not a small amount to be getting as an annual bonus.
No.
It's a very large amount. More than, like, I would say
that's more than some people make in a year.
The majority of Americans do not make $100,000 a year.
Right.
This guy was getting paid $118,000 for his bonus for the annual year. That's just let's just put that in perspective for a minute here. Okay, that amount is very large in comparison to most people's annual salaries. Okay, that's his annual bonus. Number two, if the ransom note actually asked for $118,000 yet left the child's body in the basement hidden in a room within a room, there was no actual ransom. Do you see what I'm saying?
Correct.
Because there was no actual kidnapping.
Right.
Something
So
is
how
going.
how are they going to return the body if you don't have the body for the money?
Exactly. And why ask for the $118,000 if you are the family and you just got $118,000? Why do you need another $118,000 exactly?
Right.
Something is wrong.
Yep.
Something is indicative that either somebody wanted that money back,
right,
or, like I said, it's not adding up.
It's not.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. And then, we'll spiral on the next one because otherwise I'm going to start a whole other one. But I agree. It's
crazy.
There's so many coincidences. And I think that's why everybody was so quick to jump to the family, because you're like, how could it not be? But if you really start picking apart the case and looking at some of these facts that have come out, you're almost like, it can't be the family.
Really?
Like, I don't know.
I'm gonna watch the documentary. Is it on Netflix?
The really good one that just came out. There's one on Netflix, but there's a really good one on Peacock too.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Just watch it.
Okay, so we're gonna end for today. Okay, you guys, we're gonna end it just for today, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna shoot another episode, or maybe two. We have a lot to go.
We might have to do two.
Yeah, we actually have quite a bit to go through on this. Just in general, I'd like to explore some of these particulars about the case that you really know a lot about. A lot of the times when I do these episodes and I jump into cases that I don't know about, I kind of skim them. I do as best I can to kind of get myself as immersed in it as possible. Yeah. Some of them I'm already really knowledgeable about, but this one I wasn't. I'm really, really grateful that you have such a wealth of knowledge about this particular subject, about this particular topic. I really feel like the next few episodes are going to be awesome.
Yes.
And we're going to definitely, explore more and dive way deeper into this subject.
Yes, I can't wait.
You guys,
we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, seriously. So I'd like to thank my guest again, Mallory Dickinson. Thank you so much for joining me today. And you guys, I always like to remind you guys on our way out that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not the other way around, you guys. I love you guys. We'll see you guys next time. My name is Eddie Blues, and this is Exit the Matrix. Take care, y'all.